So remember, the parent function of a square root would just be y equals the square root of x. So y equals the square root of x. And then if you remember, if you look back in your notes, you always have y equals the a is always out front. Then it's x. And then minus h. And then plus k. So remember, the a is always out front, the h is always inside of the parentheses. Well, in this case, it's just under the square root, and then the k is adding or subtracting at the end. Don't forget the h is always opposite. That's why it's x minus h. So the a value does the same thing. A stretches or compresses. I think I just spelled that wrong. Stretch or compress, that's what I'm going to change it to. And then if it's a negative, it flips over the x-axis. Okay. H is a horizontal shift. And remember, it's opposite. Oops, there's that leftover whiteout. So a negative moves it right, positive moves it left. Okay, and then our k value moves up or down. Positive up, negative down. The only one that's opposite is h. Okay, so if you had y equals the absolute value of x plus 2, so y equals the absolute value of x plus 2, the absolute value, or I said absolute value, I'm sorry, the square root of x plus 2. So if you have the square root, if this 2 is inside or underneath the square root, then it's a horizontal. Since it's a positive, that means we need to move it left 2 units. Remember, you can always use a graphing calculator. So I'm going to grab this one that's close to me. So the absolute value, dang, I keep saying absolute value. The square root of x, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the x plus 2. Make sure that since it is underneath the square root, you put it under the parentheses, or in the parentheses. I think that the skinny calculators, these colored screen calculators are a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and do it just to make sure. So square root of just x, oh yeah, and then the square root of x plus 2. So that's how you type them in on the 2 different calculators. This one automatically puts it underneath the square root. This one you have to close the parentheses. So now if I hit graph, there's the parent function, and then there is the shifted one. And notice it did shift left like we said. So go ahead and hit second graph. so we could get some points. So the parent function, I'm going to go ahead and write the table for the parent function just so that you have it. So the parent function is 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 2, and I think that's enough. Notice you can't take, remember you can't take the square root of a negative number, so if I hit go up, it's going to tell me error, because you can't take the square root of a negative 1, because remember that's imaginary stuff. So that's the parent function. So if you take those 3 points and just shift them all left 2, so 0, 0, left 2, 1, 2 would be here. 1, 1, so 1, 1, shift it left 2, 1, 2, and then 4, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then left 2. So that's what my shifted would look like. The parent function is at 0, 0, 1, 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So that's the parent. And then this one is left 2. So anytime it talks about the description, it's talking about how you moved it. Use words to tell me how it moved.